that from the point where you started, it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, it was already clear that that mammography screening and real smart elimination was kind of the focus, right?
Mammography screening was the focus, and smart classification was the focus as well. I wouldn't say real smart elimination. Of course, that is the goal, but having said that, that was not that wasn't the focus at the moment.
Yeah.
We're moving towards that even now, I think, but I think there are quite a few challenges ahead before we actually get to that point.
Yeah, exactly. I think Thai has kind of brought that vision in, and in the process of trying to do that, one noticed that one has to kind of take a step back. And yeah, exactly. So it would rather be called smart classification, I guess. Yeah. So maybe you can talk about your task in the beginning. You know, what did you what was the framing of your job and your tasks and your the purpose of you being at Merantix, and then we can go from there and talk about how you worked and what challenges you saw, etc.
Okay, so I mean, they hired me as a product design lead, which basically meant that I take on UX research work, or even synthesizing existing research that is being in close loop with the radiologists and Moritz and even Max, and generally getting all the know-how from the company that is there, and talking to all the key stakeholders, basically, if that involves the business team, that is Flo, and any other intern working alongside, and also then synthesizing that research, creating designs that are maybe in the form of rough wireframes even, that's like hand-drawn or whatever medium suits me, and then creating the pixel-perfect prototypes to be uploaded for handing off to the devs, and then syncing with the devs in order to find out if they need something for the process, basically, and closing the loop of between like design and development, and then having the product changes go live as we would envision it from the beginning.
Yeah.
So initially when I joined, my task was to understand everything that Natalia had left behind. They were mostly very static. She had created a good design system for what she had worked on, and the idea was to then take it forward. There were some big UX, I don't know, not mistakes, but like just necessities that were not part of the current product at the moment, and that needed to be resolved. So that was like one of the bigger challenges that I had from the beginning.
Yeah. Okay, so you were working to make to make yourself a picture of what had already happened and kind of create a basis for working efficiently, making Natalia's work into a more dynamic environment.
Exactly. Because since it's a medical device, there are a lot of restrictions in terms of how many changes we can even introduce at a given point of time. And since we were aiming for a CE certification at the time when I joined already, the designs were already established in the light mode. I don't know if you saw it. It was like white in color with dark blue buttons and stuff.
I think I saw that one.
That was the initial design, and even though we got a lot of flack for it from almost every radiologist, to a point where one of them turned off the screen while using the product. Like, he literally turned off the reporting screen. So we had to live with that challenge. I had to, and the earlier point was to basically how do you incorporate someone else's work into your own work, and how do you make the best of the situation when there are so many limitations? I would say was the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Okay. So you think you were limited by the CE environment, by the fact that it was a medical device?
Yeah, the regulations limit the product design on a very big scale, but I think that's much required considering the fact that it is a medical device. So fully in support of that as well.
Yeah. And maybe, okay, so speaking of restrictions, kind of, since it was a medical device, but it was also, or it is also, an AI product. So how do you think? I mean, maybe it's difficult to really say that, but how do you think the fact that it was AI changed the design itself, or influenced the design itself and your decisions that you were making, and how you worked? The fact, for example, some challenges are, and I'm now being quite theoretical, I'm now kind of going outside MXH and acting as if I didn't know a lot, right? So, generally, there is the problem that customers don't trust AI, that customers are scared of that AI takes away their jobs, that customers... with customers, I mean obviously the radiologists, that in this case radiologists don't understand AI and so on. Do you think any of these challenges influenced or were applicable, and do you think they influenced how you designed the product?
So one of the first questions during my interview, I think it was from Max or Daniel, one of the guys, was this, that how would you approach this problem that AI within a product is not easily trusted? And what are the challenges that I see, basically, before I joined? So this was my answer, that with any new technology, right, there is this fear, and of course, like the radiologists would fear that it would somehow take their job, or even the sheer invisibility of the AI within the product makes you sort of wary of it. So how do you make a product look friendly and at the same time easy to use and provide value and reassure the customer as well? So those were some of the things that when I joined, those were some of the initial ideas already being talked about. But what I liked about our strategy was that we were not very aggressive. That is, we didn't follow the CAD route. We had instead something called smart classification, which already provides a lot of value. I saw is that it kind of builds on the idea of a symbiotic relationship between the radiologists and the AI, rather than this disruptive, the AI is going to take over kind of relationship. And that was already something that we played upon even when we branded Vara. So when you see the logo, there is a V and an A, like it's basically opposites, and it comes together like a union, right? Like that symbolizes integration, that symbolizes symbiosis between human and machine. And that for me like speaks for itself. And like then the next asks were about okay, like should we make the AI visible in some way? Should we and then if we do that, how do we do that? Like I think I researched, for example, Alexa or Siri, like what their UI is and how customers interact with that. And should we make Vara very obvious to the users, or should we keep the features hidden within the UI somehow, And then we decided that it's a medical product. It has a certain amount of seriousness. And when we say that radiologists don't understand AI. That is not true, because all the radiologists that I have interviewed so far seem to have a very good understanding of what AI does. But I think one of the things that is an expectation is the CAD function of the AI, and they seem to always ask us, okay, then when is it going to give us the predictions, you know? And we always have to say that, that's not how we did it, how we do it. But having said that, I think over the last few months, since I think like fundraising has been coming to an end, we've had several discussions on this subject as well, on the ROI subject. And the last meeting with the users on User Day was also themed on this. I can share the presentation with you on the presence of AI and how to sort of leverage that within the product. And those could be the possible next steps for us. I'm not sure, because we would have to see how far the machine learning team is willing to follow that as well. Like, we have to all sync on that. But that's not like high priority, so we decided that, okay, we have other things to develop at the moment, and then we would eventually like maybe start looking into something like CAD as well.
So this this question of whether we should put we should make the AI more visible, and then the meeting that you had and the decision to prioritize. Can you maybe dig deeper on that, or explain exactly what you did in the meeting, because it seems like a very crucial point.
Yeah, maybe I can share my screen with you.
Yeah.
I'll show you the presentation at least. Okay, hold on. Okay. So the thing is, what happened is we decided that we wanted to definitely move towards the AI route, but during the meeting we realized that the customers don't necessarily, like the users don't necessarily have that goal in mind. They were like 3 top tier radiologists, and they wanted to have a very open discussion. So it didn't exactly go as we planned, like as I had planned, for example, but that was the point of the brainstorming. It never goes as it's planned, right? So we divided into first and second read, which is then leveraging VARA. That's like mainly talking about the AI part. And wait. Yeah, some examples, some problem statements. How might we initially?
How might we? Woo!
So, one of the things that they actually came up with on their own. We haven't yet showed them this mock-up that I had tentatively sort of created so that we could show it to them. Was like basically, if the user sends a report, and if there is something suspicious, instead of biasing them already, we kind of give them a little pop-up afterwards.
Yeah.
If they have missed something. You know what a safety net is, I'm
guessing.
Yeah. So that was one idea, and they came up with this on their own. Then we showed them this something called triaging. I think the machine learning guys will also tell you about this.
So just 1 second, regarding them coming up with themselves on their own. So you mean they came up on that day, or was that prior?
Yeah, they came up on that day after the brainstorming session. Like during the brainstorming sessions, one of them was like, yeah, we don't like to be biased by the AI. That's a big problem. Like we hate like seeing marks that like we have to remove and then do our own kind of reporting. It would be better if we can first click on send, and and then if there's something, you tell us. And it was completely from them, the idea.
So you had already prepared that, but they came up with the idea as well.
Exactly. We didn't show them this slide.
Okay.
We had kept these as tentative slides that we would show in case they were blocked.
Yeah. Okay, nice.
Because it was a big day for us, and like we didn't want to mess it up. So, okay. Then the second thing, this one we showed them because it was completely like quite a new idea. It's called triaging. I don't know if you know about triaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So, basically, like, the idea was to be able to sort according to classification and the seriousness of the potentially suspicious. So, if it's like 100% potentially suspicious, we put it right on top. And then we have these little tabs also where you can arrange. And it's like color-coded, so you can understand the seriousness of a potentially suspicious case.
Yeah.
Again, I think then their feedback here was that it's rather something that one would use for training young radiologists, and they didn't find it to be useful, but that's to be discussed. I think that we shouldn't use this for their word all the time. So.
Yeah, and I think, not that I want to go into detail, but I think based on this is kind of not part of the interview, but just as an input from my side, based on talking to some radiologists, I think there are just some radiologists who would really like this because it's kind of a mix. It's kind of what, those who say I really want CAD, but they also see the value of what we are doing. Those who are kind of stuck in the middle, they probably really, really like that. That would be my guess. The less confident radiologists,
Absolutely,
I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to remember that the 3 radiologists sitting in the room with us that day, they were all PVAs in their own field.
Yeah.
And in their own clinics, and that already answers the question. They are absolutely confident of what they're doing, and they know everything almost. So it's almost like they would never use such a feature, as they said, but there are many other radiologists who are rather insecure, who are new, who are young, and they need all the support they can get. And we have to also talk to them in order to get the full perspective.
Yeah.
Because those are the majority of our users, I would say. Eventually. Yeah, then I'm going to go through this rather quickly because then it's quite repetitive. Then there's this, we didn't show these to them already, but these are some ideas we developed. You can toggle the ROI. So you basically switch it on and then you see the benign and malignant CAD results. Then there's selective ROI where you can click on decision support and select the ones that you probably have problems with. For example, suspicious classifications is something that they really struggle with, and it's easily missed, so you can select the one that you want. This is all subject to the fact that the machine learning team should be able to also be at this level of actually implementing it. So this is all like up in the air at the moment. Then there's interactive decision support where you click on a region and you can see what the AI predicts, and you can see its confidence score basically. So it's like 84% confident here, which is again something they brought up. They said that if we have CAD in any form, we would definitely like to see the confidence score of the AI because we want to know how confident the AI is when predicting something, right? So they want clear guidelines there. Yeah, this was very random. I don't like it. Other than that, this is all consensus conference stuff, so not relevant to our discussion. Yeah.
Okay, but so that's that's basically an example of how to deal with the challenge that maybe some radiologists don't, or just to make the relationship symbiotic and to make AI more visible, because some radiologists. Well, what would you say is the underlying problem or the reason why you're doing it? Is that because of trust, or is that because of other issues?
So the reason that we decided to do this is because there are a lot of existing solutions in the market for AI and breast cancer. Like this is not something new at the moment. It's been explored many times. However, I don't see a clear winner in the field, and that is for a reason. I think there are many solutions, but they don't seem to be doing this field justice somehow, and I see that the users are unsatisfied. So why are they unsatisfied? Because there is something lacking, and so how can we, as like a breast cancer screening application company at the moment, do something about it? We have to talk to users and understand their pain points with the existing solution, and in order to come up with something completely unique. And it could be as simple as a safety net, or as simple as a selective ROI. The problems that they currently have are so easy to solve, and yet no one is solving them. It's one of them said that he uses Lunit, for example, and the CAD is so aggressive, it just keeps making marks all over, and then they have to manually remove it, so they don't even use the feature. And there's a prediction score, I don't know what it's called, I forgot, but it's like between 1 to 10. He said that it keeps doing this, but they don't know what the scale means. And there is no understanding. And only if the team from Lunet interviewed him and like solved these problems, they would have a better product. But they didn't do that. And we have the advantage of having all these little inputs and building something from scratch. And Max and I agree upon this, like we don't want to add 100 features and then keep reducing it. That's not the way to build a product. The way to build a product is to really start from scratch and add one feature at a time, even if it means looking completely like blank and having not enough features. It's better to do that rather than fill it with bullshit features that no one wants, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And that's just what I notice when talking to the radiologists. It's like they generally want AI, but there's nothing that really makes them go wow. Like when we saw an iPhone for the first time, it was just wow. And we wanted it immediately. And it's like currently, it's like it's like a better, the phones before the iPhone were these where that you could kind of open up. I don't know the word for them, the flap phones or whatever.
Flip phones,
and some had like these new features that maybe an iPhone had too, but they just incrementally made them better, and the phone still belonged to that category of phones. And I think what you're doing now is kind of going the next step and making a wow product.
Exactly. Like when I talk about this, I also always think about the iPhone or like Apple products in general, however mass they are at the moment, however unpopular in terms of the price they are. I think they do a fantastic job in terms of like the sheer innovation and the sheer like attention to detail that they bring in. And I hope that they continue to do that, but that's the point that we are trying to make in this industry. It's so shitty, the UX sometimes, like just simply like whatever workflows I've seen so far, it just lacks so much in the simplicity bit of it, it doesn't have to be so complicated. It doesn't have to be full of
No, it doesn't have to be complicated. And it doesn't have to showcase technology. Like, I just have the feeling, I agree with what you said before, that there's no clear winner and everything, and I think just that the pattern is that they're pushing technology and they're not pushing kind of UX or UI, that they're pushing technology. They're showing that they're doing AI, they're showing numbers, which is important in the medical field to show numbers, but they're not, they're just, it's AI, it's like saying, Apple. It's like Apple saying we've got a touch screen, we've got touch screens, and pushing a touch screen and just giving a shit about anything like an app store or anything.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Another thing that I was thinking of was like in the medical field, yeah, like there's these people who are established like Siemens and stuff, and they come into the industry and then they integrate themselves into different hospitals and different systems, and then they are absolutely secure. And for years even, no one updates anything like Hologic servers and stuff, like they're just inside the system, and they take it for granted that the users will continue to use it. It's like the whole Windows setup, right, in the late 90s, when they took it for granted that everyone's just going to continue doing this for the rest of their lives, and suddenly there was a disruption because of Mac, and like somehow Apple took over everything. And why was that? Because like you can't just be so complacent. Like just because you introduce new technology doesn't mean you don't stop giving a shit about your customers, you know. And that's exactly the medical industry at the moment as I see it.
Yeah.
And there are like half-hearted, shallow solutions, but nothing that cuts it. Nothing that's like absolutely brilliant. Like
No.
and we can be that. We can with the team we have, and I'm really happy that we're not all medical background people, because we have this sort of freshness of perspective that is much needed. Like I love how Max thinks also, even though he's not a medical guy. He's very much like he's got a certain angle that he comes from. It's very business, but I really like the way he thinks, and that combined with the intricacy of Moritz's thought process, it works perfectly for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it was funny in Luxembourg to meet all of our key competitors, to really, I mean, we were in the same room with them, we kind of had no other choice than actually to talk with them. And they were all 50 plus. They were all professional, and they clearly had a medical knowledge. You know, that was in terms of that, I mean, we have Moritz, but in terms of that, they might be kind of a step ahead, and they might make a better impression in those presentations. Maybe the reason why we didn't do such a good, or there's kind of the medical, and then there's the kind of, it's a necessary but not sufficient requirement to be completely proficient in terms of the medical terms and what's required from a medical perspective, but and they have that, and then it's also on top you need to have what we just discussed, kind of a wow effect, a value that you have to bring to the users. I think they don't have the thing on top, but they have the thing at the bottom. We have the thing at the bottom to 80%, and we could easily get to 100, and also on top we're further, but we kind of don't fulfill both criteria fully yet, and as soon as we make these changes we're miles ahead, because we're not only focused on the medical part, we're focused on the product as well. So yeah, that's so interesting. You know, those guys, they don't have that mindset. I mean, it's easy to see, you know. I mean, I don't want to be derogatory, but I spoke with them that they're just not that dynamic. They're lost in details that radiologists like, details that we need to have too, but that's just not enough, right?
I've completely, like, the thing is that a user cannot, you can be the best like advisor and guide the product in a certain direction if you are the core user, but to understand your own habits and then to sort of synthesize that information is very difficult, and that's where you need freshness of like a completely different perspective, be it coming from a user research person, be it coming from a product designer, be it coming from like a business person. But you do need that, absolutely, in this day and age, you know, when, like, I think the UI and UX is really, really important. Like, I know everyone would say that about their own field of work, but I really believe that.
Yeah.
It makes or breaks a product completely. Like that, your interaction with product like is that.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is, of course, like it needs to be fast. It needs to be the AI actually needs to be working and not be some shitty plugin or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Did you? I'm curious to know. Did you have a chance to meet Kieran by any chance?
Yeah, I did, and not in Luxembourg. They weren't in Luxembourg, but I met them in. So first, I met them in Budapest at Oizobi, and then I met them in Chicago at RSNA, and I met kind of the communications responsible, and I met one of the radiologists that technically isn't employed by Chiron, but he's doing a lot of participating also in product development and providing them with data and bringing a medical perspective and so on. And do you have any questions regarding Chiron?
Specifically because they are apparently our competitors, like on a larger perspective. So what did you think of them, and like what was their team like, and did you have a chance to look at the product?
I didn't have a chance to look at the product myself. I think Claire actually was in a workshop where they showed that a bit. I think what they are doing very well is kind of what we're starting right now with the closed commercial release, kind of how they enter the market and taking time to enter the market. I'm not saying it's the winning strategy, we don't really know, but I think they're taking a lot of time to focus on research and development, which is kind of typical for the medical industry. Not pushing something before it's really ripened, but I think they're focusing a lot on performance. Regarding the product, I was talking to that radiologist, and probably he was mystery shopping. He was trying to get information from us because he came to our booth. So I'm expecting he didn't say everything, but one thing that he said was that Chiron doesn't really have that approach. Chiron isn't really building a workflow. They're not dealing with exactly what you showed me before, with the small but powerful changes that you can make to the workflow to make it better. There, kind of got this also very important perspective of really focusing on productivity gains through machine learning, really kind of replacing the radiologist with machine learning. But that's why they're also taking a long time to do that. I can't really judge. It's just it's very fragmented, the information that I have, but it's really difficult to say whether they're a real threat or not. For example, they didn't come to Luxembourg because they're not really focusing on distributing their product. They're focusing on creating awareness to make people want them, but they're not actually selling yet. So they're at these big conferences, but not at sales pitches like it was in Luxembourg. So in the end, if we're quick enough, I think we can beat them, and if we're focused on UX improvements, because the reality is we won't replace the radiologist in the next 3 or 4 years. So if you're just focusing on that, it doesn't really make that much sense. Right?
Just from the last few visits, we went to Prague also, and I saw what the clinic looks like and how it works, even like everything from end to end. And I don't see realistically how, unless you really go for killing with the AI, and I don't know how that's possible in such a short-term plan to do that. You would have to have the radiologist support 100% in order for the product to be a success in the market. And the only way that I see that practically is also another reason that I have like a bit more faith is because, I think our approach is really, really strong.
Yeah.
With the symbiosis bit, where we collaborate rather than disrupt.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too. Yeah, that's so interesting. I want to take the time to, out of all of the things that I've done so far, I think it's the most interesting thing to focus on what radiologists want, to talk to radiologists, and to come up with ideas like you just showed. And it's just not possible to in any way participate doing 50% from Zurich and focusing on my thesis.
Yeah.
So let's
maybe
see.
Once you're done and you still want to work for Mirantix Healthcare, that's something you could maybe possibly be interested in doing. I would love to have your support on that as well. I think that it's very important to be talking to the radiologist constantly, and I don't have enough resources at the moment. Like, we have a lot of other work to do, but if there's someone constantly sort of like working in that direction, it would be awesome, because like every time I talk to them, I'm just like blown away by some random thing that comes up, like just watching them use the product. Or Kumile, for example, every time I talk to him, I feel like the surge of energy, this is like, this is actually possible. And the fact that like all these like top PVAs support us, they believe in the product. Having three of them like in that room that day was such an adrenaline rush. Like like we have these three people, absolutely like the top of Germany, talking about our product, brainstorming with us, using like, I don't know, we're using the whiteboard and like just doing random stuff with them. It was really awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, and I think that's something that's probably one of the key things that companies can take away from the case of Mirantix Healthcare, because they usually shy away from doing that. They don't really talk with their customers. And anyway, I think the key message is, yes, AI changes things, it brings challenges like trust and so on, but in the end you just have to have a really good product development process, a process where you collaborate with radiologists or with whatever customer you have, right? And then it will. Then AI shouldn't be like, it's a consideration, but it shouldn't be the only focus. It's just the technology that is below, kind of, right?
It's as simple as like, it's a tool. It's just a tool. And it's like when like, for example, photography was introduced, the cameras were introduced, then finally the science world was celebrating, because they wouldn't have to depend on the imagination of artists and the hand of an artist, and they could basically represent something solidly using a tool rather than the other way around. And then how it was so ironic that it actually became a tool for creative expression.
Yeah.
So that's the whole case with AI. We keep talking about it as if it's this like really huge thing, but in the end it's just a tool, and it will be in the hands of the humans for as long as it is. And it depends completely on us how we use it and how we give it to the users to use it. And yeah.
No, I agree. That's also a good quote. I will take that into my thesis. Perfect. Sadly, I already have to go to the next interview with Daniel.
Yeah.
But that was great. Again, a very good perspective. I'm now really happy. I think there will be some nice insights. My professor is like, every time I'm showing him the new insights, he's like going crazy, because we forget a bit how unique and how forward-thinking the company is that we're working in, or at least I forget it. Because if you go outside, even to people who are on the front of research and of business, it's like wow for them. So that's really great. Yeah, okay. I mean, so maybe two things. First, if I have some follow-ups when I make it more concrete, maybe I'll write you, and if you have time, it would be great to maybe clarify those things if you are ready to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let me know if you have questions.
Yeah, and the second thing would be, so also one part of my data collection is next to the interviews. It's kind of archival documents, and I'll see with Jonas whether there needs to be an NDA and whether we're allowed to disclose them. Generally, they won't be disclosed anyway, so even if we present this paper at a conference, we won't disclose them. But if you could give me access or a copy of that presentation that you showed me, and if you think other documents that are key as well, that would be amazing.
Yeah, awesome. I can just do that. I will share the presentation. I can share the agenda that I shared with the users for their preparation. And even the minutes from the meeting.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. And don't worry about like confidentiality. Right now I'm not doing anything with it anyway. I'm just analyzing it. And whether or not there'll be an NDA, I'll see with Max. He knows that I'm collecting these documents as well. So
yeah, sounds good.
Regarding the thing, it was a keynote, right?
Yeah, it's a keynote presentation.
Because I don't have a Mac anymore. What do you think is the best way of viewing that document?
I can convert it to a PDF and send it also. It's possible.
Nice. And those things that you then click on, the GIFs or whatever, are they still in the PDF?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I have them separately. They are just video and animations, and they're short clips, and yeah, that's something. I can convert it to a PowerPoint presentation even, this one.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah,
that would be
so
nice.
I'll give you a PowerPoint then.
Nice, thank you so much.
Cool, no worries.
Cool.
So, all the best for your thesis. And
thank you.
Let me know when you need to have some questions.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Alright, Dipti, have a good day and stay healthy.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See you.